This is not just an ordinary stretch of water. It is a blade poised over the heads of 200 million countrymen, a sword of Damocles that could fall at any moment. At the same time, it is the last great hope bestowed upon this nation by the heavens. What if I told you that right now, as we speak, in these few short minutes, an energy force equivalent to several dozen times the output of all the world's nuclear power plants combined is flowing silently past Nigeria's doorstep? A terrifying power, sweeping past our coastline without a sound. What would you think? Would you be afraid? Or would your heart begin to race with the desire to seize it? For the longest time, we have gazed upon this current, known as the Guinea Current, watching it churn like a vast, dark dragon, carrying billions of tons of seawater in its relentless day and night surge. All we could do was stare and sigh. But starting today, in an era of global energy shortages, hidden geopolitical threats, and struggles more ferocious than any tropical storm, a quiet league of Nigerian engineers has made a decision that will astonish the world. They have declared war on this bottomless, dangerous sea. They intend to haul Nigeria's energy future from the pitch-black abyss, 600 meters below the waves. This is no longer a simple power generation plan. This is a desperate, life-or-death struggle for survival, for pride, for the future of our nation. The Niger Delta Ocean Thermal Energy Project, the name sounds peaceful, but behind it lie countless thrilling and perilous secrets. Can Nigeria truly break the energy curse the heavens have laid upon it? Can it, amidst the giant waves of the Atlantic, forge a second national treasure to rival its oil reserves? Today, take a deep breath and follow our lens as we descend into the untouchable depths to witness firsthand this climactic battle between human ingenuity and the savage fury of nature. Before this story truly begins, I urge you to click the subscribe button, because what follows will completely change everything you thought you knew about energy, about the ocean, and even about the destiny of Nigeria. Friends, to tell this story properly, we must first look at the stark reality of Nigeria. We live on an energy island that seems vibrant on the surface, but is, in fact, incredibly fragile. No matter how brilliant our minds, no matter how booming our markets, if the ships carrying refined petroleum and natural gas were to stop, the lights of this nation could go out in a matter of days or weeks. This feeling of being throttled, of having a hand around our neck, is a waking nightmare in the heart of every forward-thinking Nigerian. Our old power grid is unreliable. Thermal power plants foul the air, and solar and wind are at the mercy of the weather. Where, then, is Nigeria's energy salvation? Just as everyone was looking to the sky for sun and to the hills for wind, a group of audacious engineers turned their gaze to the deep, forbidding ocean off the coast of the Niger Delta. This place is the edge of the world, a canvas of fierce and fantastical dreams. Here, just a few kilometers from the shore, the seabed plummets as if cleaved by a giant's axe, dropping to depths of over 1,000 meters. In marine geology, this is called an offshore trench, an exceedingly rare natural marvel. Usually, it signifies risk, a warning to stay away. But to the experts in ocean thermal energy conversion, it was a super treasury prepared by God specifically for Nigeria. Why? The principle is not difficult to understand. It possesses a beauty of ultimate simplicity. We all know that in the dry season, the surface of the sea is baked by the sun, with temperatures soaring past 30 degrees Celsius. But in the deep sea, where sunlight never penetrates, the water temperature remains a steady, frigid 4 or 5 degrees year-round. This temperature difference of over 20 degrees is power. It is electricity. By bringing these two bodies of water together, a thermodynamic cycle can generate a ceaseless flow of energy. And mark my words, this isn't just any electricity. It's a form of power that requires no combustion, produces no emissions, and doesn't even need daylight like solar power. In other words, as long as the ocean exists and this temperature difference persists, it can deliver electricity to us 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is a true perpetual motion machine. But hold on. If it were that simple, why isn't America doing it? Why isn't Japan? Why are the great maritime nations of Europe still stuck in the laboratory phase? Because between the idea and the reality lies a nearly insurmountable obstacle: drawing water from the deep sea. Imagine, off the coast of the Niger Delta, one of the most storm-battered and dynamic maritime environments in the world, you must install a colossal pipe, several meters in diameter, straight down to a depth of 600 meters. A depth of 600 meters is like plunging two of Lagos's tallest skyscrapers, one on top of the other, upside down into the sea. Down there is no light, only a deathly silence and a crushing water pressure capable of flattening steel plates. Every square meter endures a weight of 60 tons. It's like having a great whale balancing on your thumbnail. And that's not to mention the capricious ocean currents on the surface. The Guinea Current moves at incredible speeds, a wild conveyor belt that threatens to snap anything lowered into it. When the project began, skepticism from the international engineering community came in like a flood tide. A renowned British marine expert, Mr. Davies, wrote an article in an international energy journal stating bluntly that building a deep-sea water pipe in the geological conditions of the Niger Delta was more difficult than building a base on the moon. He argued that existing material technology simply could not produce a pipe that could withstand the high pressure and the tearing force of the storms. Western media even published a caricature depicting Nigerian engineers trying to suck the soup from a boiling pot of jollof rice with a single strand of spaghetti, mocking the plan as utter madness. But doubt and ridicule are often the precursors to great achievement. In the bones of Nigerians lies not only the vastness of the ocean, but also the stubborn resilience of the Niger spirit. You say it can't be done? We'll show you that it can. On this battlefield, the Nigerian team's first challenge was that lifeline of a deep-sea pipe. Traditional steel pipes are too rigid and would break under stress. Ordinary plastic pipes are too soft and would be flattened by the currents. What was the solution? After countless sleepless nights and burning through millions in their research budget, Nigeria's material scientists invented a continuous high-density polyethylene composite flexible pipe that stunned the world. This was no ordinary pipe. It was more like a living deep-sea python. The pipe wall's design, inspired by the fibrous structure of a palm tree, possessed the compressive strength of steel, yet had incredible flexibility. Even if a 7-magnitude earthquake struck the seabed, even if it encountered a once-in-a-century violent current, this great serpent could sway with the water, using softness to overcome force, neutralizing the immense impact. To lay this pipe, the engineering team devised and shaped dynamic suspension method, allowing the pipe to maintain a delicate state of buoyancy in the water, like a master of martial arts who doesn't fight the ocean head-on, but redirects its energy. But that was just the beginning. In the ocean, there is another invisible troublemaker: biofouling. Barnacles, algae, and other small organisms may seem insignificant, but once they attach to the pipe, they spread like a virus, clogging the passage, increasing friction, and even corroding the equipment. This is a century-old problem that has plagued marine engineering globally. To solve it, the Nigerian team rejected toxic anti-fouling paints because they were determined to protect their pristine waters. Instead, they learned from nature. Inspired by the skin of a shark, they invented a nano-biomimetic coating. Its surface is covered with microscopic patterns invisible to the naked eye. These patterns make it impossible for bacteria and small creatures to gain a foothold, much like water rolling off a lotus leaf, achieving a purely physical and thorough cleanliness. This technological leap made anti-corrosion experts worldwide drop their jaws. They exclaimed, "The Nigerians are not just making a pipe, they are teaching an inanimate object how to protect itself like a living thing." Beyond drawing cold water from the deep, the project's most brilliant stroke lies in its completely new perspective on waste. A nearby gas-fired power plant, a common sight in the Delta, discharged enormous amounts of warm water every day. In the past, this water, 5 to 7 degrees warmer than the surrounding sea, was considered thermal pollution, an environmental headache. But in the eyes of the ocean thermal energy engineers, it was a godsend. They designed an incredibly clever closed-loop system, directly using this discarded warm water as the hot source. Picture this. On one side, you have the icy 4-degree water pumped up from the 600-meter abyss. On the other, you have the 30+ degree hot water discharged from the power plant. These two streams meet in a heat exchanger. Though they never mix directly, the heat transfer is instantaneous. The working fluid in between, typically a low boiling point, eco-friendly liquid like ammonia, is hit by this hot and cold shock. It immediately boils, vaporizes, expands its volume by hundreds of times, and rushes towards the turbine with immense force. The turbine spins wildly, and the current flows. This isn't just power generation. This is the human mind conducting a symphony of cold and hot forces. This design not only solved the power plant's thermal pollution, but also boosted the OTEC efficiency by a staggering 30%. In the energy world, this was a masterstroke of turning waste into treasure. An inspector from the International Energy Agency, after visiting the site, wrote in his report, "Nigeria's idea has opened a new path for tens of thousands of coastal power plants worldwide. This is the ultimate example of a circular economy." Of course, the project's genius isn't just in its technology, but in the economic ripples it creates. You think this pipe is only drawing up water for electricity? Far from it. That is flowing gold. The water pulled from a 600-meter depth has slumbered in the Earth's lower layers for millennia. It is pristine, sterile, and rich, with dozens of rare minerals like magnesium, calcium, and zinc. After being used for power generation, it remains cold and pure. For Nigeria's savvy entrepreneurs, this represents a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. It can be used to create premium bottled water with a price point that rivals the finest imported brands. It can be used to farm the most demanding cold water, high-value seafood like Atlantic bluefin tuna or exquisite abalone. Because the water is so clean, there's no need for antibiotics. It can even be used in agriculture. On this hot continent, low-temperature seawater can be piped through underground networks to cool greenhouses, allowing for the cultivation of crops that normally only grow at high latitudes, like strawberries and cherries. Even in the beauty and skincare industry, extracts from deep-sea water, with their unique mineral composition and superb purity, have become a sought-after raw material by major international brands. Nigeria is building a grand blue ocean chain of energy, food, agriculture, and lifestyle, all centered around this one pipe. While others fight tooth and nail over silicon chips, Nigeria has quietly planted its future money tree in the deep sea. However, the road to success is always fraught with obstacles. The sacrifices made by the Nigerian engineers in this process are unimaginable to outsiders. Working in the stormy waves of the Atlantic, every descent was like walking a tightrope between life and death. I heard a story about the project's chief engineer, an elder in his 60s from a Delta village. To check the pipe's stability during a fierce storm, he insisted on staying on the violently swaying platform for 3 days and 3 nights. When a young engineer urged him to retreat, he pointed to the pipe and said, "This is like our newborn child. Can a mother abandon her baby when the storm is at its worst?" It is this fearless dedication, this sense of carrying the nation's burden on their shoulders, that turned an impossibility into a reality. Perhaps some will wonder if all this effort is worth it. In this age that demands immediate returns, is such a high-risk, high-investment project a losing bet? My friends, that's not how you do the accounting. When you are at the geopolitical poker table, energy is never just a commodity. It is leverage. It is a weapon. It is confidence. If one day a blockade truly comes, if the fuel tankers cannot get through, this pipe from the deep seabed, this system that runs entirely on Nigeria's own resources, will be our only light in the darkness. It is not just a generator. It is Nigeria's energy bastion, the divine pillar that keeps us steady in the great waves. Furthermore, the success of this technology will transform Nigeria from an energy buyer into a global seller of ocean energy technology. Already, nations like Ghana, Indonesia, and even small island states in the Pacific are showing immense interest in this system. They also have the temperature differential, they also have deep seas, but they lack the technology. This pipe could become the torch that lights up the entire tropical belt. This isn't just about making money. It's an invisible diplomatic card, a super upgrade of soft power. As the first phase of the demonstration project came online smoothly, every flicker of data was a shout to the world. Nigeria did it! Those caricatures that once mocked us now look ridiculous. Those experts who once said it was impossible are now lining up to visit the Niger Delta and learn. Nigerians have proven once again that on this resource-rich land, the one thing that is never in short supply is our audacity to challenge boundaries and the intellect to rewrite the future. Looking at the deep blue surface of the ocean off the delta, I can't help but be lost in thought. Centuries ago, our ancestors navigated these treacherous waters and settled this land. Centuries later, our engineers have returned to the ocean, using cutting-edge technology to wrest from its depths the secret to survival. This is a cycle, but also an elevation. These pipes, reaching into the deep sea, are like umbilical cords, connecting our present to our future. They remind us that true conquest is not about plunder, but about mutual support. As we take energy, we are also learning to respect nature and to wisely use every gift it provides. The road ahead is still long. The Niger Delta OTEC project may only be the beginning. Perhaps soon, we will see more of these deep-sea pythons along Nigeria's coast. We will see floating energy islands scattered like pearls across the Atlantic. In that future, we will no longer worry about power cuts, no longer have to bow to the whims of others, because our strength will come from the restless sea beneath our feet. This is not just the story of the Niger Delta. This is the story of Nigeria. It is the story of every person who refuses to bow to fate and dares to challenge destiny. In this uncertain world, one thing is certain. As long as that indomitable Niger spirit remains, as long as the courage to embrace the deep blue still burns, there is no storm that can capsize this ship. We are not just generating electricity. We are banking infinite hope for the next generation. If we compare the deep sea pressure to an invisible giant hand trying to crush any intruder, then the Guinea current that sweeps past the Niger Delta is an enraged dragon waiting to tear apart humanity's defenses. Friends, you may not know that this part of the ocean is called the Dragon's Maw, not just because of its depth, but because it is the main channel of one of the world's great ocean currents. This current is over 100 kilometers wide, 1,000 meters deep, and moves at terrifying speed. The volume of water flowing through it every second is hundreds of times that of the mighty Amazon River. To hold a ship steady in such a furiously racing highway, and then, with the precision of threading a needle, send a pipe several meters thick to a specific point on the seabed. This was a super challenge in the annals of marine engineering that no one dared to even imagine. When the Nigerian team decided to confront the Guinea current head-on, a top international insurance firm refused to underwrite the offshore construction phase, calling it a high-probability act of God, with a 99% chance of failure. But the Nigerian engineers had no retreat. They deployed a secret weapon that left the world in awe. A dynamic positioning system combined with a deep-sea robotics swarm. Picture this. In the midst of a raging storm, the mothership on the surface does not drop anchor. You cannot anchor in a sea thousands of meters deep. Instead, the ship relies entirely on 360-degree rotating thrusters under its hull, coordinated with satellites above and sonar beacons on the seabed. Governed by an AI, it makes thousands of micro-adjustments per second. If a wave pushes it 1 meter to the left, the thrusters, in the blink of an eye, pull it back 1 meter to the right. Even in 5-meter high waves, the ship's deviation from the drilling point on the seabed was controlled to within an astonishing 10 centimeters. This is like walking a tightrope in a gale-force wind while carrying a bowl of water without spilling a single drop. And below the surface, it was like a silent science fiction movie. Human divers could not possibly go to such depths. The Nigerian team developed their own deep-sea combat engineers, a swarm of heavy-duty underwater robots. Each robot, worth millions, was equipped with mechanical arms more precise than a surgeon's scalpel. In the pitch-black, ice-cold 600-meter depths, under the relentless scouring of the current, these iron warriors had to complete tasks like joining pipe sections, locking flanges, and even drilling meters-deep anchor points into solid rock. Even with such high-tech equipment, accidents happen. During one critical pipe-laying operation, a sudden internal wave, a massive surge of energy beneath the surface, instantly doubled the current's speed. The special steel cables holding the pipe began to emit a teeth-grinding screech, signaling imminent failure. The multi-hundred-ton pipe began to swing like a pendulum in the deep, threatening to smash the expensive robots and even pull the surface ship over. At this critical juncture, the ship's commander, an old sea captain with 30 years of experience, relying on his primal instinct for the sea, defied the computer's automated commands and roared, "Full speed, head into the current." He used the ship's own momentum to fight and hold back the force of the internal wave. In that moment, snatched from the jaws of death, when the pipe finally settled into place, there were no cheers in the control room. Only a long, profound silence and the hot tears in the corners of the engineer's eyes. This is the nature of battling the heavens. Every small victory is a triumph against the gods. The techniques developed by groping in these extreme conditions not only saved the Delta project, but also gave Nigeria the upper hand in the global deep-sea engineering field. Now, whether it's for deep-water wind turbine foundations or subsea cable laying, Nigeria's deep-sea stabilization technology has become a hot commodity on the international market. But friends, after conquering the currents, we still had to face this land's sworn enemy: earthquakes. The Niger Delta region is geologically active. What if a 7.0 magnitude quake struck the seabed during operation? Would this entire multi-billion-dollar system be instantly destroyed? To solve this, Nigerian structural engineers drew inspiration from the wisdom of their ancestors, not seeking rigid confrontation but flexible resilience. They invented a three-dimensional seismic isolation flexible joint. This is a special device, installed at the interface between the seabed foundation and the pipe, filled with a special non-Newtonian fluid and high-damping rubber. Normally, it is as hard as steel, supporting the pipe, but when an earthquake wave hits, the immense shock causes the fluid to instantly thin, and the entire joint becomes like a piece of cartilage, able to twist up to 30 degrees in any direction, gently dissipating the earthquake's destructive force. After the quake, it automatically returns to its original position thanks to memory alloys. This means that even if the seabed is turned upside down, our pipe can sway like seaweed in the waves, completely unharmed. This system has been hailed by the International Disaster Prevention Association as the earthquake insurance for deep-sea engineering. It showed the world that on this tumultuous land, we have learned how to dance with disaster. Moving from the hard engineering, let's zoom out to the grand energy strategy behind it. Why is Nigeria pushing so hard? Is it just for environmental protection? No. This is a grand chess game concerning the nation's lifeblood. Look at the current international situation. Conflicts in oil-producing regions, disruptions in shipping lanes, turmoil in global markets. For an economy like Nigeria's, heavily reliant on energy exports and imports, every delayed tanker can cause chaos in the industrial sector. Our burgeoning tech industry, our Silicon Lagoon, is a massive consumer of electricity. A 1-hour power outage at a major data center could mean millions in losses. Without stable energy, there is no national champion. Ocean thermal energy is Nigeria's own energy reserve, its future mainstay. Unlike power plants that need imported fuel or gas, the raw material for OTEC seawater is right at our doorstep, inexhaustible and limitless. No one can blockade it. No one can cut it off. This is the foundation of energy independence. With it, we can stand taller at the international negotiating table. Even more excitingly, this technology holds a massive surprise: green hydrogen. We know that hydrogen is the ace fuel of the future. But currently, most hydrogen is produced using fossil fuels, which is gray hydrogen. But using the clean electricity from OTEC to directly electrolyze seawater offshore produces the purest form of green hydrogen. The Delta system can be upgraded in the future to become a massive offshore green hydrogen plant. This green hydrogen can power buses, steel mills, and can even be liquefied and sold to Japan and South Korea. This not only solves the energy storage problem, but also gives Nigeria the opportunity to become the new Middle East of the hydrogen era. Imagine the future off the coast of the Niger Delta. It is no longer a lonely deep blue, but a cluster of floating energy islands. Undersea cables, like blood vessels, transport clean energy to every factory and every home on the mainland. Our tech hubs are cooled by deep-sea water. Our cars run on hydrogen extracted from seawater. This is not science fiction. It is happening. Of course, we cannot ignore the challenges that remain. Scaling up from the current megawatt demonstration to a gigawatt-scale commercial operation requires immense capital, and the long-term effects on marine ecosystems need further study. But looking back at Nigeria's development history, which triumph did not emerge from a pathless wilderness? From the struggles for independence to building the foundations of a modern economy, the Nigerian way has always been to turn the impossible into the routine. Now, the world's pioneers are taking notice. Tech giants like Google and Microsoft are closely watching the progress in the Niger Delta because their data centers desperately need exactly this kind of stable, clean energy source that comes with natural cooling. Perhaps soon, the world's first zero-carbon underwater data center will appear off our coast. Nigeria will become a hallowed ground where the digital economy and green energy merge perfectly. This isn't just the victory of a single project, it's the victory of the Nigerian model. It shows the world that a smaller nation with vision, technology, and the guts to fight can claim its own place in the game of giants. Right now, as you look upon the deep sea off the coast of the Delta, do you no longer see fear of the unknown, but a heart full of hope and strength? The sea breeze still blows, the waves still crash, but within the eternal roar of the surf, a new sound has been added, the hum of human ingenuity. It is the sound of turbines spinning. It is the sound of deep-sea robots at work. It is the sound of Nigeria's footsteps marching towards energy freedom. The story of the Niger Delta Ocean Thermal Energy Project is just one example of Nigeria's technological counterattack. In every corner of this nation, there are countless unsung heroes like these engineers, silently building the ramparts for our tomorrow, erecting iron walls in this chaotic world. If we compare the deep-sea power generation to the skeleton of a great dragon, then what comes next is the dragon's true flesh and blood, the part that transforms the system into pure gold. Many people think that spending so much money and taking so much risk, if only for a few naira earned per kilowatt hour, is a losing proposition. But the Nigerian calculation was never just about electricity. That pipe, extending from the 600-meter depths, draws up not just cold water. In the eyes of experts, it is liquid diamonds, flowing blue gold. You may not know that deep-sea water is the oldest, purest water source on Earth. It has slumbered at the bottom of the ocean for thousands, even tens of thousands of years, untouched by a single speck of modern industrial pollution. It is rich in magnesium, zinc, and dozens of trace elements essential to the human body. The ratio of these elements is remarkably similar to that of human body fluids. This isn't water. It's a life potion mixed by nature herself. In the plans for the Delta, power generation is only the first step in the deep-sea water adventure. After the 7-degree seawater completes its task of cooling the working fluid, it is still a cool 10 degrees and pristine. This is where the second phase, creating billions in value, begins. This is called cascade utilization, the art of squeezing every last drop of value from a resource. First, this cool seawater is diverted to an agricultural park next to the power plant. We know Nigeria's climate can be scorching. Many high-value temperate crops, like premium strawberries, Japanese wasabi, or delicate orchids, cannot survive on the plains. They must be grown in cooler, higher altitudes. But highland transportation is expensive. Now, with deep-sea water, everything changes. Engineers have laid special pipes that circulate the cold water underground, giving the soil a natural air conditioner. Can you imagine? On a summer afternoon in the Delta, it's 35 degrees outside, but in the high-tech greenhouse, the soil temperature is a stable 18 degrees. Those fruits and vegetables that should be growing in cool Japan or Europe are now flourishing by the sea in Nigeria, their fruits plump and juicy. This not only breaks the climatic constraints on Nigerian agriculture, but also allows us to use low-carbon methods to produce world-class agricultural products to sell back to the world. This is a super upgrade for traditional farming. Then, after passing through the farmland, the water has warmed slightly but remains incredibly pure. It now flows to high-end aquaculture farms. Here, they don't raise common tilapia. They raise the bluefin tuna, the Goliath grouper, and even cold water shrimp and lobsters. In today's world of heavily polluted coastal waters, having an absolutely pure, heavy metal-free, and pathogen-free body of water is a dream. But in the Delta, it's a reality. The water is so good that the fish and shrimp don't need any antibiotics, yet they grow faster than in the wild. This kind of zero-poison seafood, once it hits the market, is a treasure sought after by Michelin-starred chefs. This is not just about making money, it's about building an iron wall for Nigeria's food security. Finally, the water, having been used twice, can still have its highly pure minerals extracted to make high-end functional drinks and cosmetics. When you browse a store and see a deep-sea mineral water spray, in the future, the source material won't be a brand from France, but from the Niger Delta, Nigeria. This is a grand, closed loop, leaping from energy to agriculture, and then to lifestyle and medicine. Nigerians have used a single pipe to string together a value chain of blue gold that dwarfs its cost. Speaking of which, I must truly marvel. This is Nigerian ingenuity. We are not short of resources, because our minds are our greatest resource. We are not afraid of scarcity, because innovation turns scarcity into abundance. Let's broaden our horizons even further. The Delta Project is not just a source of Nigerian pride. It is a beacon for the entire world in the era of decarbonization. We see the news every day. Global warming, extreme weather destroying homes one after another, polar ice caps melting, island nations facing inundation. Humanity is desperately searching for a way to satisfy its energy needs without destroying its home. Nigeria is providing an answer. We are not just selling technology. We are selling a philosophy of coexistence with the ocean. The Delta model tells the world that the sea is not an enemy to be conquered. It is a mother we can rely on. As long as we understand how to respect her, follow her rhythms, and use technology to gently knock on her door, the sea will reward us with endless treasures. Already, representatives from island nations like the Maldives and Kiribati have come to the Delta to learn. When they see the stable platform and the flourishing seaside agriculture, their eyes are filled with the light of hope, because they see that a small nation can also achieve energy independence and food security. Nigeria is transforming from a political pawn into a climate leader. This is soft power that transcends borders. It is the power to win the world's respect. Of course, the road will not be smooth. Technological updates, capital struggles, political maneuvering, every hurdle is a challenge. But I believe that as long as the Nigerian can-do spirit is alive, the spirit that is not afraid of rot, but only of a ship that doesn't move, there is no difficulty that can stop us. 400 years ago, our ancestors crossed the dark waters and built homes in the wild. 50 years ago, our parents built a modern nation from scratch. Today, we stand on the shoulders of giants and march toward the deep blue. This is not a coincidence. It is destiny. It is our mission. Friends, when you are enjoying the cool air from your air conditioner or charging your phone, don't forget that in the dark, cold abyss off the coast of the Niger Delta, a metal beast is silently turning. A group of brilliant engineers is wrestling with giant waves. Every drop of water they pump, every kilowatt hour of electricity they generate, is writing a saga of Nigerian dreams. This is not just an engineering project. It is a hymn to the future. It is a love letter to the sea. It proves to the world that survival doesn't have to be brutal. We can rely on our minds to live with elegance and dignity on this blue planet. In the future, the Niger Delta may become the Atlantis of West Africa, not just for its beautiful scenery, but as a technological holy land with infinite derivative possibilities. Every one of us is a witness to this transformation, and even a participant. As this story ends, I want to leave you with a question. One day, when your car drinks not gasoline, but the hydrogen from the deep sea, when the shrimp on your plate is not from a polluted farm, but from a pristine abyss? When the lights of our entire nation are no longer held hostage, will you feel a deep sense of pride for having lived in this era? If you believe in the power of Nigerian technology and have hope for the future, please give a thumbs up and share this with your family, friends, and even those who doubt us. Use your engagement to build a current of support. Tell me in the comments section which part of this deep-sea industrial chain excites you the most. The inexhaustible mineral water, the top-tier seafood you can't get enough of, or do you have your own thoughts on Nigeria's energy strategy? Until next time, here's to a better tomorrow.